Starting the broadcast now.
It's on Periscope. Got that going?
Welcome, Scopers. Use your camera to fix my hair. Welcome. All right, we're going to give you a behind-the-scenes look at our set here. You can ask questions. We're probably going to be looking more at, because that's probably not a great way to do that, is it? There you go. There's EP. Whoa, you get to see EP.
EP.
EP. Wave EP.
I have more than a backside. Nice to see you.
Thanks
After the backside.
Nice. Okay, I'll flip the camera around. So we're going to be behind the scenes here with STEM Jobs. This is our, I've called the job doctor. This is STEM chef. Right. So cooking up.
Wasn't really pointing at me, but that's okay. They get the idea.
It's
kind of like that.
Okay, so we're going to actually flip this around, so I'm probably going to really annoy you with the camera shot that we've got here. You get to see behind the scenes of the presentation we're about to give. This goes on for, is it 30 minutes?
Or so, yeah.
Or so, 30 minutes or so. We'll chat with you all. If you have all questions, this is all about STEM literacy, which is what we're working on. Here, we're reaching high schools, Menominee High School, and there's a link that we put onto the link that we put on there. Greetings, Dave from Philly. There's a link on there if you actually want to go to the Hangouts and view us via Hangout. You can do that. We're going to be talking into the camera out here. I will try to keep. How old am I? How old am I? How old are you?
I'm 42. You're 43.
He's not allowed to tell how old I am.
I just did.
Nice.
I just did.
You just told how old I am. So sorry, I'm older than I look.
We've got a few people in the room so far.
I look older than I am. I'm not sure. One of those two things. So we're going to see where we're at. Oh, where are we? We are currently in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we are in the studio set here behind the scenes at STEM Jobs Labs. STEM Jobs Labs.
We're going to be getting going pretty soon.
We're going to get going really soon. For our other audience, so take a look. Again, there's a link if you want to come straight to the live link. What is this thing?
For those of you on the webinar, if you wanted to use a chat, let us know where you're from.
Tilt that around.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
So we've got Jordan out there. Jordan, if you want to let us know where you're from, that'd be great. Pat's going to throw up a poll pretty soon, asking if you are an educator, K-12, college level, college admin, employer, nonprofit, where you're from. If you get into that poll, that'd be great. Again, Jordan, welcome to the webinar. We'll be going a little bit. We're sort of hanging out here while we wait for everyone to join us. That poll is up. Thank you to EP for getting that up. Appreciate that.
It was better. Sorry, you're talking.
Everybody doesn't show me all the time.
It's going to be you all the time, and my hand gestures. So it's really about the hand gestures. This is live, so
lots of this.
Careful with the hand gestures. You want to make sure. All right, you can see most of us, right? You can see him.
Yeah.
There, is it
No
better?
one wants to see me though.
Okay, so we'll try to talk. We're actually talking in that direction, so. And you've got a screen behind us, which is kind of hard to see. And we're going to get rolling here with our live audience once I get the presentation up. It's on here. You guys won't be able to see this, but if you come to if you click on the Hangout piece, you can come into the actual Hangout and see all the content that we were about to share and go through today around STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math.
Right.
Making it interesting for your kids.
We've got Jordan. Jordan Hale, who works at the University of Arkansas, Fort Smith admissions office. So.
Fantastic. Well, you're going to like what we're sharing today, because we actually have some of the feedback from the STEM Jobs Approved survey last year, looking at what employers are doing as well as what colleges are doing. Those are performing well and doing well in these particular areas. So I got some good statistics that will be near the end, so you have to hang with us to get to the good stats out of our survey. But thanks for joining us. And we got two things going on. We got the vote here on Periscope. Again, there we go. Tonight you can't hardly see any Glenn if I do that.
I could hide too. So
It's all Glenn's fault here. So yeah, Glenn Zolman, Daniel Nichols,
Daniel Nichols,
that's me. Or alternatively, the job doctor and
STEM chef.
STEM chef, because you can tell that he's actually wearing a chef outfit.
My chef suit on. We're gonna be cooking up some trouble today.
See, that's actually a good shot right there. I just like hold that the entire
That's
time
the entire time. Nice.
and do it that way.
Yeah.
You can see it here.
Oh, put it there on your screen.
Put it up here.
Ooh, that's super cool.
Yeah, then I can't. Then they can't see
No,
you.
we're
Oh, now we're live. See, now I'm
We're
messing
live
with the
there.
stuff while you guys are live.
so
Sorry, we're setting up
we've got high tech.
the high-tech stuff here. I'm trying to give the other audience who's on Periscope. So if you all have Periscope, see, now you can't see anybody at all.
Those of you that are in the production
There we go.
business, we're using a high tech device called a roll of tape
you
to
can see that.
to prop up the phone.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you can see it right there. The roll of tape.
Ah, there we go.
Nice.
Now you can only see the screen though. You
You can
can't
still see the
the screen
hand
behind us.
arm movements though. when
And
we're
arm gesture. Just
pointing out things that are on this.
move in slightly more.
Why are you showing your?
Oh, what am I doing?
picture roll?
It's
You got it going on?
fantastic. We got this stuff just running here. I think it's because I like hooked on my
Like seamless.
now. All right, sorry people, we're getting there. I think it like plugged in and then plugged out. My phone did.
It's
So
a busy STEM day, man. I got a lot
it's a
going
busy
on.
STEM day. There we go. That's
All
better.
kinds of stuff happening in the STEM world.
I'll point
Did
that
you
out.
see that they found water on Mars?
I saw that. Well, now wait. Did they find water or the evidence of water having been there?
They actually have. I saw pictures that actually show
Evidence
over
of
time evidence of water.
water being
Yeah.
there. Yeah, which is
It's
wow.
very very salty. Otherwise, it would evaporate.
Yes. So your dreams of living on Mars
That
just
much
got
closer to reality.
one step closer to
Right.
reality.
Yeah, I went on to Expedia and tried to book a flight.
Yeah.
You
Not
still,
there yet?
You still can't.
Well, we talked with, is it SpaceX? I
Yeah.
know Lockheed Martin's actually featured in the upcoming issue on aerospace sciences, and we're going to have the top 10 jobs in those fields, which is pretty cool. That's going out pretty soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's
And-
pretty, I think, about 5 times in that one sentence.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, yeah, but SpaceX is kind of one of the folks that we're looking at talking to soon.
Yep.
Seeing if they can. I'm hoping that they can strap you on one of those rockets that they shoot up and they come back down and land on the platform.
Yes.
I think it'd be
You
good
just
to get
go up and then come back down.
give you a GoPro camera tied to that
Like
rocket.
you're going to the outside of the rocket.
Right.
You know, for STEM
There's
jobs
no
labs,
inside.
because the next iteration that we do of this is actually be more of an exploratory piece.
Right.
See, now I'm talking to the camera up there.
Good skills.
Yeah. I'm going to talk to all of you, not just to this dude, because we should be talking to you. You're our audience. Exploratory piece. We'll be looking at curriculum. Hopefully, we're doing some campus visits. So, I don't know if Jordan. Anyway, it'd be really cool to get some of you in the audience on these hangouts in the future. We'll be talking to some of the STEM Jobs Approved organizations. If you haven't done that, we'll have a link up here later on for you to check those things out. So we're going to roll into our content. We got a ton of stuff to cover today. This is the third in a series of 3. It was kind of anticlimactic saying it that way. The third in a series of 3.
Why is it FFMN?
Well, I don't know. It just seemed like
Third and final.
the third and final
The
right now on this
climactic-
particular one.
Yeah.
EP is back there telling us to move along.
Yeah. Real quick before we get going, we got
Banter
Terry in
too
the room
much.
too. Terry, if you wanted to, we have a poll going, so if you want to let us know kind of what your role is, and if you want to use the chat, you can also just tell us where you're from and what you do. We'd love to know kind of what your background is.
And you're with us on Periscope too. If you want to shout out, let us know if you have anything to do with education at all. Go in there. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's get going.
So last time we were here, we talked about the 4 ingredients effectively to improving STEM literacy overall and to building greater partnerships and programs that work for students in science, technology, engineering, and math. And we talked about the first 2 of the 4 ingredients.
Right, student opportunity and career focus.
Yes.
So, answering those first two questions of can I do what I love? That's one of our big themes here is can I do what I love, and when am I ever going to use this? Two big topics around my background as an educator, trying to get students engaged, trying to get them to be passionate about STEM subjects, and so we talked a lot about those last week, and this week we're tackling the next two.
Yes.
In that list.
Which will be diversity,
right,
and partnership. And so the four fundamental questions, you had two of those, right?
Right.
And again, in terms of creating almost immediate, an immediate difference, like today in your program. So that's your college, because we have some employers that have been with us too, or your high school, and you're with us now. But to have immediate impact, ask these questions of your current programs: outreach, recruitments, classrooms, etc. Ask these four questions of that, and as the greater you're able to address these particular questions, the greater outcomes you'll have in terms of student engagement, academic excellence, and academic outcomes, and then ultimately building more college-ready, college-bound, and career-oriented students.
Yeah.
So the second of these is how can I do what I love in terms of career? So those things that I love, that going back to the American Dream concept, how can I get there? So today it's about diversity, which is answering the question, is there a place for me?
Right. Can students see themselves in those roles? Can they visualize themselves as taking on those jobs, or what things are going on in the environment that might be limiting them in those ways? And if we discussed a few times, diversity is not just enabling underrepresented populations to enter STEM jobs, but also making sure that there's a diverse range of STEM opportunities available to those folks.
Absolutely. So we'll be digging into that today. And then the other piece we're going to dig into is a partnership concept, which is how can I answer the question, how can I get there? So if we lead all the students, if we lead individuals, wherever they are, down this path of, this is why you should focus on this content, because here's how it connects to the real world. Yes, you can do what you love. Here's some areas that will help you discover what those things are. Yes, there is a place for you. Look, there's others that are like you, that have been there before, that have paved the pathway for you. You got to answer this last question. How can I get there?
Right. So many students, when I taught high school, they came to my class already believing that there wasn't an opportunity for them, that there was no path to making that happen. And so early on, we've got to show them that there actually is a way for them to get there, that they can pay for college, they can pay for the training, or they can enter into programs where that might be paid for them. And that's where a lot of that partnership element comes in, is that we need the corporate sector, we need the college sector to really step up and show students that they can, in fact, reach those dreams and goals.
Yes. Welcome to Terry, too. We see that you mentioned that you work in workforce development on a national level, which is fantastic. You may have some great input into this, because you are most likely right in the midst of bringing all of these entities together. So we're also definitely looking for additional partners as we move forward here. So let's move on to diversity partnership. We're going to hit it in kind of those orders and the concept of what this does.
That slide. I look really good in that picture.
You do.
I look.
So here, this looks kind of like you.
That's my old job as the executive chef at the Stonewall Resort there.
And we kind of noticed that you're cooking bananas Foster here. We should probably not pull that, out too well.
I like cooking with fire. That's good stuff.
Yes.
So
it
takes a really a lot of skill to make
cooking with 4 ingredients today.
Right, we got the 4 key things.
You brought some ingredients over here.
I've got some ingredients for our secret sauce here.
Yeah.
What we're going to.
It look like secret sauce.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. So these two pieces are really about transforming organizational culture, whether you're a college or an employer or partner, and transforming the classroom culture.
Right.
It's too big. The last ones that we covered last week were really about student engagement, engaging them in these subjects. Today's about cultural transformation.
Yeah, I mean, it's you have to have an environment set up where that's just the norm. That those things are happening every day. That there aren't barriers put in the way. So if students do get engaged and students are excited about things, that there aren't obstacles that are happening along the way, and that's what today's really about.
Absolutely, good. So first question, if we ask students what they want to be, you need to show them what they could be. And so the question of diversity is we want to address here today. Interesting quote that we've got, we pulled out. At the heart of the challenge in diversity is, to some extent, or to a great extent, reconstituting our understanding of what ability and intelligence really mean.
Right. One of the big things with that is just that idea that you can learn new things. There's that whole growth mindset piece we did with we did a lot of looking into the research of Carol Dweck and growth mindset. Lots of studies done around the fact that you actually can learn new things, that you're not fixed in terms of your intelligence and mindset, so that when students find things that they really are interested in and really love to do, that if we enable their that pathway, then we can totally get them going in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, part and parcel of that is this concept that human communities depend on a diversity of talent and not a singular conception of what ability is.
Right.
So when we talk about diversity, there's the obvious components in terms of science, technology, engineering, math careers. We're just simply lacking females and minorities in those types of career positions and in the pipelines in those career positions. So that's fundamental. But important to getting to solving that point is understanding the diversity of opportunity and how STEM literacy and STEM skill sets connect across the board. And so a big piece of that, I think I go back to 2013 and the publication of the Brookings Institution study, and we may have a link that we'll be able to put up for you all to connect with that. But that was a foundational piece, and what the Brookings Institution really did was kind of the hidden STEM economy, and took on this challenge that for years and years, STEM is not new, but really it was being seen as those standard sort of traditional research-based science and math subjects.
Right.
And really STEM goes well beyond that into healthcare and computer science and vocational and technical types of positions. And fundamentally, what we showed in the very first of these issues, those STEM literacy skills are required and more so in pretty much all occupations overall. So,
right. I think was it the Georgetown study that went into the idea about STEM competencies?
yes.
And again, that broader definition of STEM as being foundational to so many occupations. I think last week we talked about the fact that a lot of people that are in STEM degree programs get hired into sort of non-STEM careers because those skills that they learn there are so usable and so valuable to those non-STEM jobs, which makes you really question the idea of them being non-STEM jobs, because if those skills are really, really important, then obviously that's a fundamental piece. And I think that's the whole idea about sort of shifting our paradigm about what it means to be a STEM job and what STEM careers really are.
Yeah, just that exposure piece to an environment where you're facing down challenges around science and math, you're utilizing those skills. That's what I experienced in healthcare. And for some of you that don't know the background, did have worked in the U.S. Department of Labor for a number of years, but then also directed recruitment across a large health system. And what we found was that a lot of our sort of the non-technical, non-STEM positions overall, people were just being taken out by other employers around us because of the exposure that they had. And what they found in that Georgetown study is just that literacy piece, the STEM literacy piece, leads to the types of outcomes, critical thinking, and complex problem solving, et cetera, that every employer, pretty much every job, is looking for.
Right. Yeah. As an educator, you're tasked with engineering solutions to student achievement. Mm-hmm. You have to evaluate data, analyze the information. You've got to make a hypothesis about what is going to be a good solution for this student, for all of your students. Engineer your programming. There's so much STEM that goes into education in general, regardless of if you're teaching English or you're teaching science. I mean, those educators have to use those problem-solving skills, those analysis skills, and they've got to really construct these very dynamic models of education in order to meet the needs of students. And the teachers that I always saw that did that best were the ones that really had those STEM skills and were able to apply those in a variety of ways.
So let's address just the fundamental challenge now in terms of pipeline. Right? And there were some studies that I think we were talking about a little bit earlier, looking at these pipelines around females, around minorities in these particular STEM subjects that you're referencing. This one in particular, coming out of Forbes in 2012, just looked at cohorts and following. And we know that in recent, very recent years, like so Twitter and Facebook and many of the Silicon Valley tech giants out there had not prior actually published what their diversity data and statistics were, and then have started to do so, understanding that the numbers were terrible. I mean, they really were not good. And a large issue around that is it's just fundamentally, and for those of you who can't see this, we'll certainly be sharing it with you, but if you look at just the number of boys and their interest levels in IT fields versus girls and their interest levels at very early age, from childhood to high school to work and then executives, you see it just starts with a much smaller pool.
Yeah, only 35% of girls are interested in those fields at a young age. And what I was talking about earlier was this study that just says that that young girls especially are often dissuaded from entering those areas by teachers in elementary schools who are also primarily females. And it's almost a subliminal kind of thing that happens, is that they themselves are often a little bit unsure, uncertain, untrained in those areas, and the students pick up on that, and they, again, it's about sort of seeing yourself in those positions, and they see their female role models, the teachers at that point, a person they spend, a lot of time with, being uncertain and unsure about math and science and those kind of things, and so they themselves pick up this inherent idea that, I guess it's more of a boy thing, and so we have to create a culture, like I said, changing that classroom culture around the idea that no, it's something that's great for everybody, boys and girls, regardless of if you're ethnicity, all of those things. It's really a proactive stance in that way, promoting those kind of things versus just sort of being passive about it.
Yeah, this reality hit home for me. Jordan, you may have some input on this kind of thing, but what you all are doing at University of Arkansas to avoid what I experienced recently. My daughter just started college. We were visiting a number of colleges back in the springtime, so that's fairly normal sort of thing. And she loves physics. Wound up not choosing physics, and the main reason why, she went into a campus, and that experience there, she came into the physics department like that, and it was just an incredibly negative experience that she had. One, there was all boys everywhere, so she couldn't see herself there in that particular classroom. All the faculty were male. And honestly, their posture in that group, because I'm there with them, right? The posture in that group was very different toward her than it was toward the boys who were in that cohort. And this is challenging, this is hard, It was amazing, and she was great. She does very well. She just wasn't choosing biology, so I'm glad we were able to retain her in a STEM field and go down that track. But I was excited for a while about, hey, a daughter who loves physics, loves it. It does very well in it, and decided not to pursue it. Now, all too often, I think it's the kind of thing that we end up seeing. And,
right.
We need to get well beyond that. And I guess to that point, so those of you that are employers that are interviewing, those of you that are parents out there, those of you who are with universities, I mean, so even if that student doesn't go to your university, those critical touch points that they have with you during those moments, it's a community activity, it's a career day, it's whatever it is that they're impacting with you. Your input, you have the ability to make or break whether these individuals, women, minorities especially, end up choosing these types of career paths by how positive or negative you are.
Yeah, and I think also providing them with experiences that really do fit their interests too. We talked a lot, I know, the last few of our hangouts about the Cirque du Soleil interview we did, around people think about mechanical engineering, they think about that as being a very kind of, has a very solid perception of what it means to be a mechanical engineer. Mm-hmm. And you don't often think about that in terms of arts or sports or things like that, but Cirque du Soleil employs a whole bunch of engineers from all different facets to do their automation, to do their There are safety systems to manage these shows. And that's just one example of how you change that perception so that you don't think of that or a physics classroom as being this very stereotypical, male-dominated, white male-dominated profession, but it really is. There's a huge breadth of opportunities within that they can enter into, and the more that employers and colleges facilitate exposure to that, they're going to really improve the diversity in their programs.
For sure. And that's some of the content pieces that we end up featuring in our toolkit that goes into high schools. We'll talk a little bit more about that today. It's going behind the scenes. We've got toy design coming up. We've done food and fashion and how STEM integrates with these particular industries that are out there. One of the research-based findings overall is that modeling positive attitudes towards STEM learning and encouraging parents to do the same is critical to addressing these particular challenges. And I want to point to some of the studies that came out of the Girl Scouts of America. I don't know if some of you have not looked at the study that they published back in 2012 about, from their girls. It's really insightful, I think, and this is one of the top ones. So these are girls aged 14 to 17 that took this survey, and what a career they love, right?
Right. 93% want a career they love, which is great, and that's
kind of like the dentist, right?
Yeah. There's always that fifth dentist.
9 out of 10 suggest that you should brush your teeth. So I'm like,
right.
What 7% of girls?
It's always 4 out of 5 too. They don't ever ask 10 dentists. They always ask 5.
So I don't know what your poor girls, right?
Apparently there's 7% of the girls out there that just want a career they hate.
They want a horrible career. So those of you that have jobs that are terrible, there's 7% of them will fill those jobs and be happy with it. So.
And then there's 74% that are interested in STEM careers.
Yes.
So they have some interest in that, which is a really high number. I think it's really impressive.
An understanding of it, right? So this do what you love concept is where we start. What would you love to do? And we're finding in this cohort, which is a lot of girls that took this, 74% are saying what I would want to do has science, technology, and math.
Then only 13% have STEM career as their first choice.
Yeah.
So, and again, that probably boils down to more that perception, that not really understanding what a STEM career is, and that in fact it's been so tightly, narrowly defined over the years.
Yeah, and a lot of that too comes to this next piece. So you dig into the data a little bit deeper and what is going on here, why this huge fall off, and a lot of that comes to the home, to the people that are around them, to the attitudes about these types of careers, even the local communities that they have. And so you look there and you're looking at knowing someone. So the same girls, and we're looking here now at diversity as well. But I know someone in a STEM career, and so African Americans, only 48% of the girls there even knew anyone in a STEM career. One or both of my parents are in a STEM career, 29%, 18%, 23%. So if those that are in your house, right, and in your local community, and your teachers and others, the college you're visiting, and they're not doing these things, then how can you see yourself in them? It's a huge challenge.
Yeah, and the parent piece there is huge in terms of parents being able to accurately inform students about what STEM careers are, about the usefulness of STEM. I would always have students that would come in and with comments like, well, my dad said he never uses math at all in his job. Things like that, or my mom said, well, I was never very good at math either. Mm-hmm. Those are things that often parents say as a way to try to placate their child, make their child feel better about his fields, but they actually are very limiting. They're very they set caps on what students think they can achieve, when in fact the best thing they can do is encourage students to say, you know what, those classes can be difficult, and part of that part of the benefit of going through that challenge is overcoming those struggles, because that teaches you to be perseverant, teaches you to be more successful. Success does not come by doing things that are easy. If we only limit ourselves to things that were easy, none of us would be here. Yeah. We'd still be pushing around, carts like Fred Flintstone or something with our feet.
Really, the feet.
Maybe.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. To that point, really, we added this other piece that comes out of the Penn Schoen and Berlin research study out of 2012, same time frame. It said 74% of teens that considered and then eventually went on into engineering programs in colleges did so only after being explained the impact they could have in the world. And that summarizes this generation. And so if we look at, how are you as a college presenting presenting the content that you have. This goes back to when we were talking about Eastern Kentucky University and the program that we ran with them. That realizing this, right? That the old approach, the traditional approach to these subjects in engineering, is being completely lost on this generation, especially on women and minorities, unless you're addressing the impact it can have on the world. And you see, there's the diversity piece is much different in life sciences and then in healthcare. I mean, very different things. So a lot of skill required there. So why is engineering not experiencing it? And you're looking at some real research that's suggesting that our approach and our language needs to be different.
And the before and after on that number, I think, was pretty dramatic too, wasn't it? In terms of the students that said they wanted to do STEM prior to being told that.
Yeah.
It was like 25%, and then it jumped up to 74 when they went, oh, I can actually make an impact. Like that's a dramatic shift there. And when you see that connection, when you see that, oh, I can do something that's going to be impactful, that's going to connect to me, then they're all about that. But making that connection is so hard for teachers. I mean, they don't know. When you ask students, what do you want to do? Students they don't know what's out there. So you have this whole system where nobody knows what's out there.
Yes.
And they're asked to then, connect to it and help students figure out this question.
Yes.
Which is where this next piece really becomes.
Great transition. You just brought us straight into
that's called an appetizer. That's or
that is a chef at work.
Yeah, it's like the sorbet of my life right there. Cleanse the palate, on to the next one.
Right. So how can I get there? Which is all about partnership. Which is all about why we've invited a diverse, different group of organizations, from employers at colleges to high schools to workforce development organizations and other partners to come and to join us in the effort here, because that is the key challenge, right? It is a broken. If it works somewhere, some places around the country, we're going to look at some of the places that it's working. But a key challenge that we've got is to make this real for students. You've got to create these opportunities for students, and that starts with partnerships.
Right. Yeah. And I know we've got a colleague of ours down in Charleston, South Carolina, has a great example of apprenticeships going on down there, where the business community and colleges and high schools are really working solidly together. And she shared a video, and maybe we can get EP to share that afterwards. I don't have it right now, but I just sort of thought of it.
You just thought of it. We could have scheduled that.
I know.
That up
I'm
and
sorry.
Showing everyone here.
I'm sorry. Apologize.
It's really EP's fault.
Yeah, it really is.
Maybe you can track that
but
down.
The interesting thing about that is as I remember watching it, the diversity displayed amongst that group of people that were part of that internship program was phenomenal. It really speaks to when you get all the parts in motion, it really does work.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of the things we want to look at today, and I apologize that you are not able to see this as well as you could. You're going to move our.
Well, it's blocking the
stats.
Blocking
the stats. Okay. Put it over here somewhere. So we know. Hopefully, you're aware of the STEM Jobs Approved survey. Process that will continue to be open. We'll have industry awards here, fairly national awards that'll be listed out. If you are a high school or school district, if you are a partner, nonprofit, workforce development, governmental agency, otherwise, if you are a college, if you're an employer, we've been collecting data around you and from you and your colleagues. We're going to look at what some of that data looks like last year from last year's cohort that took it. In this case, we'll start with colleges. What are they doing? What are the colleges doing that are having the greatest impact on improving female minority diversity, student interest overall, engagement around STEM subjects, and have the right graduation rates and employment rates that follow from there. So.
Yeah, and our survey focuses on those 4 key components of opportunity, career focus, diversity, and partnership.
Yes.
So that's all the information that we got from the surveys from last year, the ones that we're touching this year, are all based around what are you doing in those 4 key areas. And
yes. And the questions that we're asking really come down to the measures, the activities, and the outcomes that are most relevant from a research basis toward achieving the ultimate end goal.
Yeah, one of the key things we ask is, are you in fact tracking these things?
Yes.
Are you looking toward making sure that these things are evident in your programs?
Yeah, and that's a significant piece. Like, just if you don't measure it, how can you get better at doing it?
Right. You don't know it even exists. So.
Yeah, do you even track it? really a step even beyond from tracking it. Do you share that with anyone else across the organization? So you may have data and then just not even know that you're collecting this data. So one of the first pieces that we asked about, are you tracking female faculty in STEM programs? So of those that have the best outcomes overall, 96%.
Yeah, so the ones that are really making differences are doing that, which makes sense.
For sure.
Right.
Now, the numbers, right? So when we look at diversity, because it's a big, a large, significant piece of this, the numbers are not fantastic.
Right.
In fact, from the employer standpoint, we'll get into some of those numbers, are really not great at all. It's a start. There's a lot of work. 74% of the workforce in STEM is white male, so we know that we have challenges to begin with.
Right.
But of those top schools, and maybe so look at your school, right, your college, where you're at. And this goes down to high schools. We have added high schools now to the mix, so we'll be sharing some of that data as we come out. But so the average percent of female faculty in STEM programs, 37%. The other piece that we asked was senior faculty. So our advisory council really said, just having female faculty is one piece of this, but to have real effective long-term impact and outcomes on these programs to drive kind of cultural change, they need to be in senior positions, positions of authority. So
we spend down changing the culture. Those are the people that really have the say in changing the culture at those schools.
Yes.
And making those lasting impacts.
So what you're seeing kind of out of these numbers is that a lot, these institutions, not only do they have 1/3 of the faculty in their STEM programs is female, and that's not just in life sciences program, but they're also 30% are in senior level positions. So they've been able to rise to those positions.
Like you said, not a great number, but when you compare it to the number we saw earlier of the women that end up in STEM careers, that was about 12%, I think, at the end.
Yeah, in terms of executive positions,
right.
This is way higher.
Yeah, so it's not great, but they're making lots of progress.
For sure. Now, the minority picture, really low. So disappointingly low, 18% and only 14% in the senior faculty positions. Certainly a challenge, and part of that is pipeline. Right? Getting enough interest, driving that interest, showing that you belong. There is a place for you here. So one of the great institutions that we work fairly closely with, Tuskegee University, is one of those that really stands out in this group and helps to kind of pull the curve up on it. And so they've got some great practices we'll end up sharing in some of the later hangouts that we're doing. So that's one area. We look to it, what are you doing? Like, how do you reach out to students from a recruiting, advertising perspective? We want to look at what these schools are doing. So a lot of utilization of kind of external firms is on there. So the social networking piece, so 65% of these of our STEM jobs approved cohort are using social networking for each student today. The number one of that is Facebook for recruiting, which is different than employers. So employers using LinkedIn, but Facebook for this particular cohort. But engaging, realizing that this audience, and what you see overall, if you want to attract those students who have an interest in STEM, you need to use technology to do that.
One thing about this that I really noticed a lot was the really high percentage of colleges that are literally going on site, getting in front of these students. 68% are doing high school visits, 71% are doing school, college fairs, after school activities. So a lot of time, a lot of money being put into getting on campus, getting in front of students. That makes sense. You really make an impact when you are in front of those students and they see you face to face. They see you, but it's difficult to do. It's a huge expense for colleges. It's one of the things that I think, and again, we'll talk more about kind of our sponsorship and how that works to provide colleges with better access to high school students in a much more affordable, much easier, simpler, fast way. But it's obviously important to colleges to make that happen because that's what they're doing.
Yes. And then the question there becomes, so how are you doing it? So we know that there's colleges want to reach out to high schools want that, but they need a resource. Employers want to reach out too, but we need resource around that. So what does that look like? And the vast majority of how high schools are sponsored, those high schools that are with us, you can tell us what your kind of experience around that is. But they're sponsored the basketball team, the baseball team, the football team, these sorts of the sports. It's time to sponsor math class and science class, where we put our emphasis in front of our students. What we show them in terms of importance is critical, and so that's a piece that we've been developing around. Is how do we liven up, bring life to the science and math class importance there, emphasis on those areas, and some great partners that we have, like First Robotic, are doing that sort of thing with these large events around that. How do we do that day to day? Is another question we got.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to have a college or an employer come into a school and give a talk to students. Those are great things, but the teachers, once that person leaves, the excitement tends to leave with them. So having some resources to leave behind, having tangible things that teachers can use, that's invaluable. It really, really is. Teachers are always craving materials to teach from, things that get students engaged, and that's a big part of making that connection last. And that's a difficult thing for colleges don't specialize in that. So
yeah, for sure. So what are the outcomes of those organizations that are doing well? I think that's a key piece, right? So those that are really doing the best in terms of incorporating these 4 areas in their college program, college outreach program, we're looking at retention.
Right.
So the retention rate, so look at your own institutions, right? Retention rate of STEM students in STEM programs. So what we looked at was not just, are you retaining them in the university? So that's obviously a key piece. Are you retaining them because students have gotten into a STEM-based science or a math or an engineering major, have the skills to do it, right? Or you wouldn't have accepted them into the programs. And so we look at, are you retaining them in other STEM programs? So maybe they're in engineering and they figure out that engineering is not really what they're passionate about. They're passionate about something else around STEM, mathematics, theoretical physics, who knows?
right.
Do you have programs in place to retain them? So 80% student retention in STEM programs, which means, one, you've got to track those kind of retention rates. The next piece we looked at is retention of women in these STEM programs. So obviously that number is lower, but you've got percent retention. Retention of minorities in these STEM programs, 61%.
And again, that probably speaks to some of the culture shift that needs to take place. That once we get these females, minorities into the programs, there needs to be a fundamental kind of shift in culture around keeping them there.
Yes.
So
in those STEM programs.
Right.
So again, we're not looking at, are you retaining them in the school? Are you retaining them in those STEM programs as well?
right.
We also then asked, okay, you did that at the first year, so what does that cohort look like after 2 years with your institution? And so you see the numbers kind of dropping from there, 65% and 65% overall, so 80% down to 65%, and then 60% and 51% respectively. The other stat that we threw kind of at the bottom here are the number of institutions that have curriculum program partnerships with high schools. So they've already established the bridge, and that might be supporting an AP program, a college and high school program, et cetera. So 40% of these institutions have already built sustained programs with high schools.
Yeah,
that's something high schools are looking for in terms of resources.
Absolutely, absolutely. So before we go on to the next slide, just real quick, if you do have any questions, please feel free to use the chat feature to ask those. If you haven't taken our poll yet, or if you haven't kind of gone in there and let us know who you are, please do that. We have quite a few people that we haven't heard from yet, so please take a chance to do that. And I would love to know where you are. And again, if you have any questions at all or things that you want us to address, please feel free to chat those up.
And I think there is some lag between the video portion and our answers. So if you ask a question, give us a few moments, we'll catch up to it, or you'll catch up to us.
I'm just slow answering it too.
Does it look like a brontosaurus?
Yes, like you playing. That's how I answer chats.
Making fun of me. It's told us like a brontosaurus playing soccer. Hard to get around because I don't react real well, real fast. So
have a lot of space, though. Hard to get around. All those kind of things. That's
excellent. So the next piece, moving on from soccer here. The next piece of this is we're looking at outreach programs. So these are STEM focused. What are they doing in terms of resources on campus?
Right.
Focused on science, technology, engineering, and math programs with recruiting, outreach, etc. So, so the first is they have a specific outreach program around their STEM program. 60% of the organization have a specific STEM outreach program.
It actually seems like kind of a low number. I mean, it really does.
Yeah.
You think that that's an important piece, that they need to have some kind of outreach program going. So only 60% of those schools really have any kind of an outreach at all going on.
Well, and the way that we actually ask the question is interesting, because what we want to look at is at a comprehensive program across departments. So what you typically find at most universities is they have an engineering program, outreach, they're doing marketing around or outreach around the biology program, the fitness program, whatever it happens to be, which is frankly not efficient, and it's not great experience for the students. So these organizations have actually have joint outreach where they under the umbrella of STEM, they're showing all the opportunities around. We've got engineering, we've got this, we've got that, we've got aerospace science, we've got marine science and technology, those kinds of programs around there. So it gives students a diversity of opportunity. You may, your reach and touch point with students may be very, very limited right now. And so that one thing, they may see that one class, that one visit to your school, or to your campus, that one website or web page that you put on, and all they see is engineering, and that's not them.
Yeah.
And then they leave. They don't understand that there's so much more that they could be. So.
And to make an analogy to being a chef,
Nice.
if you go try.
Yeah.
So if you go to a restaurant and all they serve are grapes,
Grapes.
That's going to appeal to some people in a small amount, but you're probably not going to really want to go back to that restaurant or really do much because all they have is grapes.
Grapes.
But
Yeah,
a diverse menu.
What would
is,
you call a restaurant that only serves grapes?
I don't even know. Grapes of wrath.
You have something for us, Periscope. Let me know.
Yeah. So, but the idea being, that when you go to a restaurant, you want to see a broad, diverse menu. Individual item, has some depth to it, and showing programs in isolation like that, and frankly, that's how education's been for a long time, where everything's in isolation. High schools, math for years has been taught as math, and it's never shall cross over the hallway to the science classes and those things, which doesn't make any sense because anybody out there that's part of the workforce development or that's an employer of any kind, that subjects are integrated throughout the workforce, not isolated.
Yeah, for sure. Not isolated at all. So some of the other things that they have, specific STEM admission counselor. So 41% have that. Staff training to support around STEM students and STEM programs, 50%. So half of them have an actual training program for staff and faculty on how to support STEM students throughout their trajectory, which is looking forward to kind of sharing with us what that actually means. STEM-specific webpage, 44%, so you're seeing some of that come again. It's this interesting piece of it's just more expensive to go and have all these outreach and marketing programs so separated. Makes no sense. Combine them under that, you end up saving resource and also connecting better with students that are looking at kind of your organization. STEM-specific orientation program, so once you get on campus orientation program just for those students. A key piece that was interesting, we have free tutoring on STEM subjects because we're looking at STEM literacy, and so that's one of the pieces that we look. So that those organizations, 69% of those organizations that are getting the best outcomes are doing that and have free tutoring on.
It's actually really impressive that there's that 70% are offering up that element. That's awesome. That's fantastic.
And it's a change, right? This is a beginning of a sea change in these programs because the traditional approach has been you come into the engineering program. In the calculus-based science program that you're going to be taking here, our whole goal is to fail as many of you as we can.
Yeah, I mean they definitely try. They definitely push the attrition idea.
Yes.
They want to wipe out all the ones that aren't qualified and only have the cream right at the top, and that's not really good business.
Yeah, I don't know if you were able to see the interview we did with land-grant universities, but tremendous discussions with a number of those organizations around why they were formed, right, to create opportunity. For all students, and typically tend to have more programs well developed around supporting students in these STEM programs, as opposed to kind of the chopping them out effectively.
Right.
So then STEM-themed clubs. So lots of clubs certainly on campus there, but that's a part of it. Like, do what you love. Do you have opportunities, activities around students so they can begin to see themselves in real-world situations and enjoying these kinds of careers?
What we're seeing is a recognition that just the combination of these things under that one umbrella is starting to take hold slowly but surely.
For sure.
Making some progress.
All right. So another piece that we've got, we're going to move on to employers. So any questions that you all may have around that or thoughts you engage around on the as colleges, let us know. And then we're going to zip through here because I know we're moving into QA
Yep.
pretty soon. So employers. Now, employer numbers, not so great. What I did here was not looking at necessarily the best. I wanted to look at all the employers that we kind of surveyed and get kind of the average for those. So tracking STEM job openings, only 41%. Now, part of that is they have no idea what a STEM job is.
They're not thinking of them those ways. Yeah.
So that's, which is interesting, right? So these are employers we're talking to. We surveyed several hundred employers, and frankly, they didn't. There's so much disagreement or misunderstanding about what a STEM job is that only 41% are even tracking it. Quite interesting.
Well, it'd be interesting to talk to the same employers and say, okay, so you're saying it's not a STEM job. Do they use critical thinking? Do they use data analysis? Do they use technology to enhance what they're doing?
Yes.
Are they engineering solutions to things? You know, getting them really to think about what the actual activities are, which is really what we've done in terms of taking the competencies that go into each job and tracking those to student interests and those kind of things around our STEM type.
Yes.
You know, and once you talk them through that, they start to recognize that, oh, well, those are actually things that I have my employees do. Wow, didn't think about that.
Yeah, and so the ones, so of the 41, this next number is of the 41% that are tracking their STEM job openings, 65% of those openings happen to be STEM jobs. So one, you can't get better at or have even any insight into what you're doing if you aren't tracking it. So should those organizations have a program working with colleges and with high schools in the pipeline, workforce development around STEM? They should, because that's where the workforce is there. Some of the other things we asked, so tracking employees with STEM degrees. And so what we're really trying to get at here is the sense that a bachelor's is not a bachelor's, is not a bachelor. A high school diploma is not a high school diploma. That what you take has meaning, right, and helps to differentiate you. But unfortunately, those in the workforce development world understand this, right? Typically, the requirement will be for a bachelor's degree, and it could be anything, and then you kind of meet that requirement. That makes no sense. So only 23% of these employers that we surveyed actually track employees who have STEM degrees. It's kind of amazing 23% do that, but so few track that, and that's a cultural change that we need to change.
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a discussion many times about the idea that a high school diploma has been completely devalued. You know, that employers are looking for, not for associate's degree and those kind of things, and it doesn't make any sense. You know, it really is, what did you take? What skills do you have? How does that track to what I need you as an employer to be able to do? The degree means you know, so little. I have a funny degree story that I'll share at a future time.
Okay.
About when I transitioned from one state to another and had to get recertified for mathematics.
Yes,
Yeah.
reciprocity is always a great.
Yeah, it's a funny story about yeah.
Now you kind of let on and aren't going to tell this story.
I could tell it real quick.
Tell it real quick.
Well, so I had it's pretty fast. So
Okay.
EPs give me a dirty look, but I'll tell you anyway. So I was transferring from one state to another. I won't tell which ones. But when I called about getting my certification for the state that I was going into, I was told, well, we have higher standards in the state, so you have to take some additional classes around mathematics. And so I asked which classes, and they said, any, doesn't matter. So that was it literally was just an paper requirement that needed so many credits. Didn't matter what it was. Didn't have to. They had to be math classes, but it didn't matter what math classes. And so, really this speaks this idea that we have these kind of rules and guides in place that don't make any sense, and we're not really tracking what matters. So,
amazing piece there. So we're going to move into here. I know we're getting to the end of our time frame here. We have a few more minutes. We'll keep you on here. Thanks for staying late with us.
EP says we're good. So
yeah, okay, says we're good. So let's look at the average of those 23% that actually track with a STEM degree. 57% of their employees actually have STEM degrees on average, which is interesting. So what are you tracking out there? Average percent of STEM degrees of that group, only 29%. Wow. So obviously, a challenge there. Average STEM degrees among the minority employees in the positions only 14% of their employees have STEM degrees. The challenge there. The next piece we've got is recruiting for STEM capable candidates. How many of you actually recruit around students who are STEM capable, which means that you have finished a certificate, licensure, whatever, around a degree program around STEM? 44% actually have recruiting for that. You would think more would be recruiting around that, only 44%. Of those that use social networking for recruiting, only 39%. That seems exceptionally low.
Yeah.
What they use is
times.
LinkedIn.
Right.
LinkedIn, which is, but the colleges are getting it, like we're students in different ways. Employers are using the LinkedIn piece. How do you transition your students into that so they can actually get access to these programs?
Well, maybe there's not a lot of great tools that are out there for doing that, or they don't like to get return on it. So that they need some way to make those connections, some way to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So how are they doing that? Other ways that they're doing, reaching out, involved in recruitment. So this is STEM specific, right? Not just general recruitment fairs. STEM specific recruitment fairs. Campus visits to colleges based on a STEM based recruiting model, 26%. So pretty low there. Community-based STEM events, which is interesting. So 42% engaged in that. So that's the first robotics types of activities. I keep mentioning them. We've got other partners out there. 4-H would be another great partner around these STEM activities. So that could be an area, right, where everyone comes around these particular events. The challenge with that is then, so our partners would tell us this, right? Yeah. Why we're partners with them. What do I do next? So we've had this great event. It's consumed maybe a total of 200 hours, 100 hours at the time. You have the student, et cetera. What's next? How does that connect to a career? How does that connect to a degree program? That's the connection piece that we really work on here.
Yeah, we met that young man down in Atlanta, probably about maybe 10 or 12 years old, wearing a USA soccer shirt on. He was talking about how he'd done a robotics program, loved robotics, and we asked him, "What did you want to do with that?" And he was like, "I don't know." Just the connection there of sports and robotics and things with prostheses and all the different sports sciences that go on. You think about golf and those swing machines that they use to test out golf. I mean, so much of the robotics and sports, but that connection just isn't made, and it's just tough to do.
Yeah, it's tough to do, and it's a shame that it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
These numbers are probably the most shocking because this is last year's data, right? Several hundred employers we talked to have. So, do you have a female-specific STEM recruiting program and a specific STEM recruiting program around minorities? Only 16% and 18%.
Yeah, really, really sad.
So you're not going to build a pipeline with that kind of a.
Well, that's why those other numbers we showed earlier are what they are.
Yes.
You're not going to have minorities and females in those positions if you're not actively recruiting for them.
Yes. So what that means is then for our high schools and for colleges that are with us, hopefully you're engaging with employers in these recruiting programs. It may be on you and on us to build out these kinds of opportunities. Right. The last kind of numbers, I've got a few more that we'll zip through here. Percentage involved in workforce development programs. So I know one of our, Terry, was involved in that. Yep. So 72% of those that took our survey said that they are involved in workforce development in the local area. 66% in community partnerships. 61% focused in local area recruitment and workforce development events. 48% in regional, 30% national, only 7% in international programs that are out there. So that's interesting. And ultimately, when I was at the U.S. Department of Labor, what you find is that hiring is local. Right. I mean, you certainly have virtual positions, et cetera. You may move candidates around, but fundamentally, it comes down to the local area. And they want to be able to recruit out of the local area and not bring them in. We work pretty closely in the Pittsburgh area here. You get Marcellus Shale industry. And up to about a year ago or so, there were 80% of the employees were coming from out of state into those areas. A significant challenge. And then you're looking at other states where they're kind of pulling your local talent away because the opportunities may not be in that local area.
You look a lot at the big industries where they relocate, where they build factories or plants, or where they build offices. It's where the talent is. They want to build those places where they can hire locally, where they can draw from that community. So they're often looking for what are the communities that have these outreach programs going on that really are fostering great STEM partnerships and STEM programs. So as communities begin doing that more and more and more, companies are looking to come in there to do more work. That happened with our friend in Charleston and Boeing, actually. Huge investment in that area, largely because of all the great things that are going on around STEM and those programs down there in Charleston.
Yeah, for sure. The last piece we're looking at here is academic institution partnerships. We're asking employers, how are you partnering with academic institutions? We went all the way down. So, are you working with elementary schools? 13%. So there are some that have programs all the way down, elementary school, middle school, 18%. You see the jump at high schools, 38%. High school partnerships exceed that of career and technical, the 34%. Vocational schools at 30%, community colleges 39%, college and university at 56%. You would think that those would be much higher,
Yeah.
because like you're hiring new people every year for new
Out of
jobs. Where
those
you're getting
places.
them from?
Yeah, and even high school, the K-12 sector, I think you're seeing more and more of the corporate entities really starting to realize that, hey, we have to get these kids interested in these careers early on. I know, again, as a high school teacher, by the time I got students in my class, they had largely made their choices around how they thought about STEM, and it was really a big part of my job to try to switch them around in that sense. So yeah, it's critical that they start really making that investment all the way down the line.
Yeah, a big mismatch that we find with that. So if we went back and looked at your community partnerships, so it's 66%, right, with these community partnerships, and the after community-based events, 42%, right? So then we asked you, from a recruiting standpoint, your partnerships with after-school programs, 5%. So they're engaged in these robotics programs and events and activities, and not looking at them at all from a recruitment standpoint.
Yeah, no, it
doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So anyway, part of this is that we're connecting with these employers. The employers that we are connecting with are interested in having meaningful partnerships and relationships. Part of the plan of the program that we have, and you're kind of holding a symbol of what that is, the sponsorship side, is matching you as an organization, whether you're high school, a college, or an employer, together, and coming around that and giving you effectively a turnkey solution for establishing and building partnerships.
Yeah, I mean, it really focuses in on understanding student interest. Like I said, when I was teaching, that was always the biggest thing. I didn't know where my students were coming from. So how can I connect them to those careers? I don't know what careers are out there, so how can I do that? And this program that we have, starting with our STEM Pad quiz, really focuses in on giving students and educators that sense of direction in terms of, okay, for Johnny over here, or for Susan over here, or whoever.
Like Kim or Sarah.
Or even EP, maybe, if he was in my class.
Yeah.
I probably would have kicked EP out of my class, frankly, based on what I know.
By the way he's shaking his head over there.
Yeah.
Our time.
But giving me a sense of direction as an educator about how do I connect what I'm teaching to what they're interested in. Again, teachers don't have training around that, so this gives them a tremendous amount of resources for doing that, but it also gives those students that real sense of vision about where is this going and what's really out there for me, and how can I do what I love.
Yeah, we at STEMJob have spent a tremendous amount of time and research and development. About 4 years have gone into this. PhD level analysis. What we did was actually take the way that you report to the CIP codes that colleges report to the Department of Education, the ONET index, which is how employers identify the occupations that they're hiring for. The standards is a new piece that we're actually bringing into this whole puzzle around that. Did a lot of analysis, regression analysis, et cetera, testing around the questions and the way that we're wording that to get the ideal suite of very simple questions to ask for students. And then correlated around competency. So what do you need to know and do well in order to function in this type of occupation? Now, when we gather the competencies sets into 8 different categories is how it wound up falling out. And then associated the occupations there. And so the interesting thing is a student can very easily work through the media content that we've got, which goes into lesson plans, which goes into posters, et cetera. All of our media kind of centers around these. They find out that they're an explorer, an advisor. It's sort of their first type, their major type. They discover the occupations. And so those organizations that participate in the survey with us, we bring your content and your model into all of this programming, and then distribute that nationally. And it gives a simple way for students to figure out first, what do you love? And then answers all these questions, right? Is there a place for me? How can I get there, if I can get there, and when will I ever use this? Ultimately.
Having seen students do this, it's amazing. The first thing that comes out of their mouth once they get this and they start looking at jobs is, oh, wow. That's almost always the first thing you kind of hear, something along those lines, like, oh, I didn't know I could like that's a job, you know, and they start to see it, and you see them really get excited about this. Another funny story, real quick. I know EP is going to kill me here, but my wife teaches very, very difficult students, special ed students. We've talked about this before, and she will kill me probably for having shared this story, but one of her students got really, really upset and started to sort of rip some things off of the walls at her classroom. When it came to our poster, our STEM type job spread poster, the student carefully unhinged it from the wall and set it aside, and then went off carrying everything off the wall. But it just shows you, like, this is impactful stuff. This really engages students in this in a way that they haven't had before.
Yeah. So that is powerful. That's what we're building on, engaging more of you to that. If you'd like to learn more about this, give us your information and name, and we'll be pushing that out. How can you be engaged in this? The opportunity that we have is for high schools. Now, high schools can certainly pick up the resources. We send a lot of resources out for free. Your students can all take this STEM type quiz for free and get access to the surveys are all free to be participating in all of this. To get it into a turnkey type of model, there is a cost to high schools, but colleges and employers can pick up that cost for those high schools.
Yeah, the opportunity for colleges and employers to sponsor high schools is just the best way to help support the STEM programs that are going on in those high schools and start to build those connections, build those bridges to really get these three entities working together closely and allowing students to really see themselves in those STEM careers, to help support teachers in facilitating that, and to make the connections from that high school or K-12, middle school, elementary school level to those training institutions, colleges, universities, technical schools, whatever it may be, into careers in a real and meaningful and impactful way.
Absolutely. Are we allowed to, EP, ask any questions, or is our time done here? Got a quick question. You can sneak it in here.
We've been getting the end this signal for a long time, so EP's like, whatever. So if you guys have any questions, please do ask those.
We've got a schedule that we're putting together for the next series of events that we're coming up here, and we'll be opening up curriculum programs. We'll be highlighting different STEM activities that are out there, ideally getting onto some campuses and looking at best practices in there. Unveiling some of the industry awards that we'll be handing out here, the next edition, also covering content that's in the next edition. So lots of interesting stuff coming out from STEM Jobs Labs. You joining us here, we certainly appreciate you being part of this, and you'll get the first look into some of these programs and activities like our STEM Jobs approved surveys, but also the quiz that we have on hand that will highlight your organizations and help make those connections for you or for your students.
Right. Yeah. So like Daniel said, we'll be doing more of these hangouts. If you have anything that you want us to explore or uncover or dive into, let us know. And please reach out to us if you're interested in more information on sponsoring a school, or if you're a high school, picking up some materials, resources. Like Daniel said, a lot of it's free, but there's some great things that you can pick up that are really inexpensive, turnkey solutions to get your STEM program really supercharged very quickly, very easily.
Yes, and let us help find some matches for you. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So until next time, we appreciate your time.
And as always,
do what you love.